So again, we're interested to see statistically how many of you have got actually a strategy in place right now, or maybe you're in the middle of an implementation, looking to do something next 3 to 12 months, or mobile is just not a concern right now.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll off now. And I'll share that out.
Thanks, Craig. Okay, interesting. 44% of you have already got a strategy in place. That's fantastic. No one's in the middle of an implementation. Okay, that's interesting. 22% of you are looking next 3 to 12 months, and a third of you not a concern at the moment. So, as some of you are aware, our friends at Citrix actually acquired a company a year ago called Zenprise, which specialised in mobile device management. And they've converted that company into their Zen Mobile product. And the idea behind Zen Mobile is that you'll be able to manage your mobile devices and the applications that run on them. And mobile devices will go through a series of steps here to actually be able to manage them and deliver the apps, where you'll enroll the device, and we'll talk about how that works in a couple of slides. You're able to secure the device, provision systems on it, publish applications, ultimately support through its life cycle, and then when the device goes away, you've got to be able to remove critical information from that device. So Citrix's Zen Mobile product, which was released this year, comes in 3 flavors. We have the Mobile Device Management Edition, which basically allows you to control the device, provide security on mobile devices. The App Edition, which allows you to deliver mobile applications to that device, whether they're the traditional mobile apps, apps that you have written, or traditional sort of Citrix Windows applications that we deliver remotely. And then of course there's always some sort of Enterprise Edition, which gives you both the mobile device management, the App Edition, and it throws in our friend ShareFile, which we'll talk about in detail later, which allows you to actually share files amongst multiple devices online and offline. So typical slide, all the features are shown there. I'm not going to go through all of them at this point in time, but that's basically what you get with each edition. What's interesting is if you've already got a mobile device management system in place, you can still take advantage of Zen Mobile. Because as you can see, the mobile device edition is the first column, but the app edition is actually in the second column. So there'll be a whole bunch of features that you do not currently have with your mobile device management that you can add with the app edition. One of the exciting things that's actually come about is the ability to provide remote support to your mobile device users. And as we'll see in the next slide, if you combine the Zen Mobile product with Citrix's GoToAssist product now, you can actually provide remote support to people running on an iOS device, an Apple device, Android devices, and those, what are those other ones called?
Blackberries.
Blackberries, or Crackberries as I like to call them. So you can actually support all 3 devices. Now on the actual Android devices, you can fully take control of the device while the user's using it and provide them with live support. With the iOS device, that feature is not available, unfortunately. I'll just let you have a look at the next slide. Due to Apple's restrictions, but you can do it on Blackberries as well. Now that doesn't mean Apple, you can't do anything on the Apple devices. You've got chat support there, you can run remote diagnostics, send configurations, etc. And what's really cool is if you're the person providing the support, you can actually do it from a mobile device if you're going to support an Android or an Apple device. So that's pretty cool, because these days, as we know, people get in trouble with their mobile devices. They're trying to do something, and it's very hard to talk to them over the phone to try and sort it out. You can actually jump on the device, do diagnostics, and even remote control them. So the other new thing that came out was that in the Zen Mobile arena, the ability for users to self-enroll their own device. So this means you don't have to get all your people to bring in their device and run some special configuration on it, just so you're able to actually manage that device. There's a system called Works Enroll, which simply means they download an app whether it's from the App Store or Google Play on their Android device, and they can simply type in their email address and a couple of other details and enroll their own device. Makes it easy for IT administrators to get their staff on board. The other thing Zen Mobile brings to the equation is what they call Works Home. So this is where all the settings are stored, all the support environment, and the application store, which we're going to talk about in the next few slides, which allows you to fully manage applications and basically keep them separate and secure from other information on the user's device. So this all plays into the bring your own device arena. So whether you supply the device to your team members or you let them bring their own device, what Citrix is saying is you've got to have a way to manage the corporate information on that device without actually interfering with the personal information. Because as we know with some mobile device management systems, they take over the whole device, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with having their device managed by IT because it's their own personal device. On the same token, IT is very uncomfortable with having people's personal devices on the network storing corporate information and then having no control over that. So in the Citrix world, you get the best of both worlds. The personal stuff gets left alone, and the corporate stuff can be fully managed by our technical staff. So how does this work? What's the technology? Well, if you've got some of your traditional applications on your mobile device, you might have that's Google Chrome, Facebook, and what's that little P? That
Pinterest.
Pinterest, okay, yeah. So if that's the sort of stuff you've got on your device, great, leave it on there, not a problem. What the MDX, or the mobile device experience technology, allows you to do is actually secure applications in their own containers. So if you've got any corporate applications that you want your staff to actually use, you can specify that those corporate applications cannot share information with other applications in your device. So if there's anything sensitive in the corporate arena, people can't simply just copy and paste information between their corporate applications and their personal applications. Pretty handy. They've also introduced technology called micro VPN. Now, most of you are aware what a VPN is, a virtual private network. And this is traditionally the ability for you to have a device that's outside your corporate network and have it connect in securely to your corporate network. Anyone that's played with VPNs knows how much fun they are. You've got to get IT to set it up. You've then got to log in, make sure you put in your credentials correctly. You've got to make the thing work. And then once you're in, you get this fantastic, usually not that exciting experience. And if you forget to actually VPN in, you can't do anything in your corporate environment. What Citrix has done is introduced a technology called micro VPN. Now what this means is when you start your application, it automatically creates its own little micro VPN through to your corporate network. So the VPN does not need to exist before you start the app. It actually starts up with the application. Fully secure, fully encrypts the information between you and your corporate network. And once you leave the application, the micro VPN drops off. So really, it's just an on-demand small VPN that runs as you run each application. Some great things we can do with that. Example, you could have some internal websites that you might want to give your users access to, and instead of publishing them on the internet or requiring people to actually, kick off a VPN to get to them, they just launch the application and they instantly get access. The other great thing is you can control who's got that application and what sort of access they've got. So other things in the technology suite, application-specific lock and wipe. So as we said earlier, a lot of mobile device management systems, they can lock devices, they can totally wipe devices, but you're going to get some annoyed staff if you go wiping all their family pictures and what other goodies do people?
Personal email.
Personal emails, yeah, that's another good one. So what you can do with the mobile device management from Citrix is selectively wipe the corporate information only. You can control inter-app communication. In plain English, that's the feature we mentioned earlier, where if there is corporate information in some of those apps, you can actually stop those applications from exporting or copying that information into other non-secure applications on the device. So example, if you got an email with an attachment, you could open up the attachment, but you could say to users they cannot actually save that attachment into their Dropbox app or their, what's that little green elephant we've got on there? Evernote app. So it can stop people from actually taking corporate information out of the corporate environment into their personal environment, and vice versa. They can't copy stuff from outside in if you choose to block that as well.
So Steve, does this mean as a end user I can actually have my email completely separated from my work email, and then from a technology point of view, I don't have to have ActiveSync in my environment?
Interesting question, Craig. Yes, we're going to look at that because ActiveSync is a technology that most of us use to synchronize our email, but it's used to synchronize email to our local email account on our mobile device, which can be mixed up with our personal email. So we're going to have a look at that in a couple of slides. Good question. So moving on, we've also got conditional access policies. In plain English, you can determine where a mobile device is and specify whether it does or doesn't have access to resources. Simple example, if a mobile device is connected to your wireless network within your office, we can say, great, you've got access to these applications, this data, you can do all this great stuff. As soon as they leave the building and then they switch over to their NextG or GSM style connection to the internet, you can then restrict access to that application. So literally, you can say to people, you can only use this in the office. As soon as you walk out of the door, you can't use this app anymore. Great for people bringing their own devices, but great also for you restricting them getting access while they're outside the office. Fantastic feature. And finally, a bit of a technical thing, federated identity and single sign-on, that's that SSO. Now this is a great feature. What this means is that with one single login account to your environment, people can get access to all of their applications and data on that device. What it also means is you can set up in the background where when they launch an application, let's say something like Salesforce, where they normally have to type in a username and password, you can have the system automatically type in their username and password. In fact, as the administrator, you can set it up so that they never know their username and password. What this means is if they go outside the corporate environment and something like Salesforce is accessible from any computer anywhere, they physically will not be able to log in because they'll never know their password. If that staff member happens to leave, guess what? You just disable their main account, they can't get into the rest of the apps. Again, they never knew their username and password. Now that's a fantastic feature. It makes life easy for the user and makes life a dream for the IT administrator. So 2 new applications that Citrix has released that work in this Zen mobile environment. And Craig, you were asking about email and ActiveSync earlier.
Yeah.
So Citrix has written a beautiful application called Works Mail. This allows people to have their corporate mail, calendar and contacts on their mobile devices. Now this is distinctly separate from their mail, contacts and calendar on their personal device. So the two shall never meet. And basically what this means is that the corporate environment can be managed by IT, secured, and if someone loses a device, they can remotely lock it, the email, remotely wipe it, get rid of the application. But as you asked before, Craig, it's not going to mix with people's personal information on that device. So this application works the same as the sort of native application, but it's actually got a really nice experience. It's a well-written application. They've also introduced an app called Works Web. Now this is basically a browser for your mobile device, and what this means is that you can specifically say to people, well, you're only allowed to access these corporate websites or these corporate external websites through this web browser. It even allows you to whitelist and blacklist sites, so you can be very specific as to what people can use through this browser. Of course, if they choose to use their own browser on their personal device, they can do whatever they like, but this way at least IT can control what is accessible to the user on their mobile device. So the other one we mentioned earlier with Zen Mobile is our friend ShareFile. So basically, for those of you who are unaware of ShareFile, the best description I can give you is it's a corporate Dropbox. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of Dropbox, and those of you who are IT administrators, I'm sure you've heard of it and you've been trying to work ways around it. Because what Dropbox means is that people can take corporate information, synchronize it to any one of their devices, and off they go. What's worse, if you read the terms and conditions in Dropbox, as soon as you put information up there, technically they own it. So I don't think too many organizations want their people throwing documents in Dropbox. So ShareFile allows us to have a corporate style Dropbox with the following features. Let's do a little bit of recap from last time. Send, request and share files within Outlook. Now this is a fantastic feature. With the share file feature for Outlook, what this means now is instead of attaching files to your normal emails and sending them out, which does two things. It takes a while to actually send them from your Outlook and clogs up your email box. What the Outlook add-in for ShareFile allows us to do is actually send the file as a link. So what actually happens in the background is you hit send, it sits there in your outbox uploading that file. When the person gets the email on the other side, they don't get a large attachment. They simply get a link to download that attachment. They click on the link, bam, they get the attachment. Very nice, very easy. One of the other cool features with this is you can actually request files. So if you send someone an email, you can embed a link saying, can you send me that file you were talking about? They click on the link, it'll prompt them to upload any files they've got. You get an email back with a link and you download them at your leisure. So there are other reasons for running this. As you know, most email systems restrict you to the size of email that you can send. So 10 megabytes, I think, is most email systems, and some people bring it up to 20 megabytes. Craig, how many megabytes can you send with ShareFile? How big can your attachment be?
Your largest attachment can be 10 gig in size.
Sorry, say again, 10
gig in size.
10 gig in size, okay. Probably not, we're not going to suggest you send 10 gig files around, but if you needed to, you can actually use the ShareFile connector to actually send a 10 gig attachment.
It works great. I use it a lot, especially with some of my customers. If they do have an issue, I can get them to send me the dump file so I can actually analyze it very quickly.
Very nice, very nice. So that's pretty cool. So you request the file, they click upload, and it just comes to you.
Exactly.
Via email. Okay, of course you can get access to your files from any of your devices. There are also some desktop widgets that run under Windows, so you can synchronize your files, same as you do with something like Dropbox. So you have a locally cached version of your file, a bunch of tools there. Be aware that with ShareFile, your files are encrypted every time they're sent, but they're actually encrypted wherever they're stored as well. So it's not like somebody can just grab a device with your ShareFile data and without the right credentials, they can't actually get to the files. So this is great if you're able, if you lose a device or if it's stolen, your administrator can actually remote disable it, remote wipe it, but unless they have your credentials, they can't get to the files anyway. Very handy feature. It also supports versioning and comment tracking. Example, you might be working on a file and you save a new version. Normally if you save a file over another file, you've lost the first one. What ShareFile allows you to do is go back and retrieve previous versions. This is a feature I remember from about 20 years ago when with other network file operating systems had. So it's not new, but it's new in this environment. What it also allows you to do, if you do send files to other people, it can alert you when they download it and notify you. So you can keep track of who's doing what with your files. We talked about remote wipe, and one of the new features, I don't seem to have it on this slide. We're going to have a look at on the next slide. One of the new features that came out last year was ShareFile with storage zones. Now, we talked about ShareFile being like a corporate Dropbox, that's correct. So your files are stored in the cloud, in Citrix's cloud. But with share file storage zones, you can actually create your own storage area inside your corporate network. What this means is you can choose to store the files in the cloud, on your corporate network, or in both. So if you've got any super sensitive information and you just don't feel comfortable about putting it out in the web there, you can store it only in your corporate network. So when your mobile devices actually access that information securely, they're only connecting to your corporate network. The information is never stored anywhere else. The other advantage of storing information locally is you can allocate as much storage space as you like. When you store information in the cloud, obviously you've got to pay some sort of fee to store it in on the web, some sort of storage area. Whereas if you store it internally, it's unlimited, simply based on the amount of storage that you want to allocate to it. Pretty handy feature. Now, some of the new features. Yeah, this is great that you can access your files on any device, sort of anywhere. But what if you want to change some files? You know, what if you've got a Word document, you just need to make some changes to it? Traditionally, you could only look at your files. One of the new features is the ability to edit documents. Okay, so actually we're going to get to that one next. One of the other new features is that you can actually now connect to existing files in your SharePoint server. So those of you who are aware of SharePoint, that's your inbuilt sort of intranet web page, Microsoft SharePoint, where you can store files and check them in and check them out. Very handy for distributing documents to people just by using a web browser. Now, what if you're on a mobile device and you wanted some secure access to your SharePoint environment? Well, now ShareFile allows you to do that. As an IT administrator, you simply configure the ShareFile system to point to your SharePoint server. We're using the word share a lot here. And people can get access to those same documents they could if they could just connect directly to SharePoint. Well, hang on a second. What about files that are stored on your network drives? Well, ShareFile now has a connector to existing files on network drives. So if you've got an F drive or an L drive on your network, you can now configure ShareFile to point to that drive, and instead of actually storing your documents and your files inside the ShareFile area, the ShareFile application will actually redirect you and you'll get direct access to your network files on your corporate network.
So you're saying I can get access to my files in my home directory?
Spot on, Craig. So access to your home directory, another corporate drive, whatever the case may be. Now, of course, you're getting direct access here, which means you're not actually synchronizing everything, because that would be crazy. If you had 10 gigabytes of files on your home drive, you don't want that synchronized. But you do get live access to the information, which is fantastic. You can click on certain information and choose to take it offline, but the great thing is you've got access to all your corporate information from any device now, not just what's inside ShareFile. Pretty cool. Okay, so as we said, securely access these files from any device. Now, with SharePoint, for those of you that are using it or looking to use it, you also know that you've got the check-in, check-out capability where you can check out files. Yep, that's fully supported. So basically, if you check out a file and others try to access it, they'll know that you're using it. They'll know that they can't update it till you check it back in again. So all those features work out of the box. For those of you that are using virtual desktops, just a quick note. Basically, in a virtual desktop environment, that's where you're running your computers in your data center, you don't really want to be synchronizing all your ShareFile files into that virtual environment. Because what that means is every time you connect to your virtual desktop, it'll go and synchronize all your data, and then when you log off, it'll just be wiped again. Not a good idea. So Citrix has introduced a feature where it'll only synchronize files on demand. In plain English, if you click on a file, it'll synchronize it, download it, you'll be able to use it. For files you don't click on, they won't be synchronized. Nice feature. And the feature I was going to tell you about earlier, which I'll tell you about now, is the new Office editing tools. So now you're actually able to edit documents on your mobile device. Now, if anyone's, this feature just came out last month. If anyone's tried it, you'll find you won't be able to find the actual feature. Just be aware it's available to enterprise customers, but you actually need to contact Citrix and get it turned on. Okay, that's just a small point they forget to tell everybody. So as an example, you may want to actually edit a Word document on your mobile device. There is a full Word editor built into ShareFile now. And as you can see with this screenshot, it's not just the really basic edit text stuff. You can see you've got spell check, word count, all different views, etc. Now, of course, it doesn't have every feature that Word has, but it has enough. You can get by. The same goes with Excel and even PowerPoint. The one I really like is the new feature where you can actually edit and annotate PDF documents. So as you can see in this example, you can hit edit on the PDF and you can scribble on it using your finger, actually, if you're on a mobile device. Add some notes to it, save it. When the other person opens up the document, your notes are in there. Great for collaboration with PDFs. Nice feature.
So Steve, you're saying you can write your entire next business case on an iPhone?
Basically, yeah, you can treat it as a napkin if you like.
Assuming you don't have fat fingers like me.
Even with fat fingers, on your phablet there, Anton's got a phone that's a tablet, as we call them, phablets. Yeah, it'll even work on your phablet, Ant. So really here what we're talking about is managing mobile devices, whether they're corporate bought ones or they bring your own device. And we're talking about actually bringing on board mobile applications in a secure fashion. Now there's one more point to this story. What our friends at Citrix have allowed us to do is actually create our own mobile applications, whether they're existing ones or we're developing mobile applications, or whether we're using mobile applications from specific vendors out there, and we can actually add them into this Citrix Works app environment using what we call the Works app SDK. Anyone familiar with what SDK stands for?
That'll be Software Development Kit.
Software Development Kit, good. For those of you that are programmers, you knew what that was. I didn't know what it was, I had to find out. So with the Software Development Kit, apparently, and I'm not a programmer, all they have to do is add this one line of code to their program, whether it's an Android app or an iOS app or a Crackberry app, and then basically submit it to Citrix to certify it, and then submit it to the standard, what do you call, App Store, whether it's iOS or the Google Play App Store, and then that app becomes a Works app. Well, what does that mean? Why do we want to bother making an app a Works app? As we mentioned earlier, you've got full control of that application now. You can decide which users get it, when they can use it, where they can use it. You can remote wipe it. You can create a micro VPN to it so it gets access to corporate data only. All those features become instantly available to your application. That's great, and Citrix is expecting over 500 software developers by the end of the year to have their apps Works enabled, but you can even do it yourself if you're already dealing with applications. So really quickly, this is what's new. I'll just run through a few of them. Mobile editing we've discussed. PIN support. You can actually lock down your share file with a PIN. Personally, I've tried it. It's a little bit buggy at the moment, that PIN support, so I'm going to suggest you wait for the next version to pop out. Local encryption we spoke about. There's a whole bunch of new policies with mobile apps, and as we mentioned with the storage zone connectors, you can connect to your corporate data directly on SharePoint and network drives, whether it's read-only or even read-write. You can update the documents and save them. With the desktop applications for ShareFile, there's on-demand synchronization available now. ShareFile is now integrated into Office 2013, and the actual application will now automatically update itself, so you don't have to worry about getting new versions of the application on your Windows PC, which is pretty handy. And finally, with Active Directory integration, I'll quickly go through this one. What you can do is, instead of creating whole new user accounts for your users to use ShareFile, you can simply integrate it inside your sort of corporate Active Directory. So people just need to log in once and they get access to everything. Pretty cool.